understanding that you have the ability to smash through your limiting beliefs and create a life for yourself outside of your W-2, your corporate world. And then surrounding yourself with people who have done it before or are walking the journey with you. If you can just level up those things, the outside world is just going to simply manifest for you in that way. I don't know quite how to describe it, Vinney, but if you put yourself in those situations of growth, I don't know quite how to describe it, Vinney, but if you put yourself in those situations of growth, right, where you're always around, you're a little fish in a big sea, right? Or you're the maybe the person who feels like they can't add the most value the most. That is a perfect place to be in if you can find that audience, because then you're going to grab the knowledge and the wisdom. And as long as you're curious and insightful and willing to help and want to ask questions, more successful people or people that are one step ahead of you are more than willing to share with you. And so sometimes when you're in those situations, it's hard, but that's why having your spouse on board with you to help push you through those situations and say, no, this is natural. You need to be doing this. I'm proud of you. Like, that is so helpful, as opposed to a spouse who doesn't involve with you or doesn't really work with you or condones what you're doing right now, or says, no, I don't agree with what you're trying to do. So that's why I really, really think that getting on the same page with your spouse is the most important thing, because Vinney, without my spouse, there would be no way that I'd be as far as I am today. Absolutely no way.
Sure.
And so I just wanted to put that out there for the
No,
audience.
that's so right. What you're saying is so very true, because it's very hard. It's tough to get started in any new business. You know, a lot of time people think that they could spend half an hour here, half an hour there. It's not that, right? You can tell that, right? I mean, you've got to do, as a business, you got to run it, you got to build your brand, you got to get, systematic way to finding different emerging markets. You want to find out what size you can afford, and then get to the brokers and get to their investors, of course, if they're going to bring the money as joint partnership or syndication. So it's a big gamut, right? But having the spouse along with you and making sure that she or he is able to see how hard you're working, and even help out, right, in different facets. That's how my spouse has been, Kanchan, and I really, really appreciate her. And then daughter now, Monica, she's fully involved. She went to UCLA, MBA, and now she's the VP of the operations of all our, properties. And now we are going into senior assisted living, where we're going to be managing them also as a business. So very exciting. But you're right. But let's talk more about your fear. It's the time for, like you just said, it's everybody's got the same amount of time. So how did you allocate time to dig into firmer grounds and all that?
Yeah, great question, Vinney, because I know a lot of people in the audience may be able to relate with this issue of not having, quote unquote, the time to be able to dedicate to this. And, I think that I'm a big believer of, it always comes back down to mindset. If your mindset is big enough, then you're going to find a way to make it done. Or to have it get done. I think that as soon as your why is big enough, that's the quote I was looking for. As soon as your why is big enough, the how gets legs. And I think that if you are very clear and you're using, your spouse is helping you out with this in some way, as soon as you find out that this needs to get done, what I did, and I'll just tell you what I did, was I decided to go into the office of this is before COVID, and this is when you were driving to the office, right? I would get there an hour early and work on my real estate business every day, every single day. And so it would just be part of my morning routine. I would follow the Hal Elrod, the Miracle Morning formula, wake up at 5 in the morning, and then get ready between 5 and 6:30. And then 6:30, I drive to the office. And then at 7, I'm there at the office working until the rest of the office comes in and the normal work day at my W-2 resumes. Then at lunchtime, it's back to the business. And then sometimes there'd be some days where in the evenings, I would come home, have dinner with the spouse, and then do another hour or two of work. And then, of course, on the weekends, half of Saturday was devoted to real estate investing as well. And I think it's important for the audience to know that you need a support system, you need a coach or a mentor to help guide you through this so that you're not spinning your wheels like I did for over at least 6 months doing this thing. And I would just get to the office early at 7 a.m. and I would just kind of tap my finger on my laptop and just try to figure out what I could be doing next in my business, when it would have been more effective to work with, you know, Vinney or another coach or someone else in my network who's been ahead of me to just do it. And so it starts with the goals, it starts with the mindset, and whatever your goal is, you just chunk it down into little pieces, and then you put blocks of time on your calendar. And you got to have that mindset surrounding all of this to make sure that the execution goes through, follow through. Your spouse, your network, your pod mates, your mentors or coaches, all those people are super important, and they really want to help you as long as you are genuine and really want it for yourself as well.
That is so true, so true. I would love to take you then, I mean, your investor base is increasing. So Derek, tell us more about it. Like, how did you get started, and did you put some PowerPoints together or all those things, right?
Yes, of course. I think that getting PowerPoints together, that's my strength, right? Of course, nowadays you can hire people on Fiverr to help assist you with like the graphic design and make it look really nice. So as long as you have some good content, you can get that going. I always say that putting a sample deal package together or putting a sample investment summary together and forwarding that along to the people that trust you and know you already, that's going to give you a really, really good start. But I think that I have my own podcast and there are other people that do, social media, which we do as well. I think you've got to find something to grow your investor base or grow your network outside of your family and friends, because eventually you'll get to a point where you want to do more, right? And then you're running out of people that openly trust you from previous relationships. So there's referrals you can do. Obviously you can work with them, but I think that a podcast will help you extend your reach, and it's a very intimate medium where people can get to know you more and your personality. So I'm glad that you're doing the podcast now, Vinney. You have been doing them for years now.
I know.
It's a great medium. And then of course your website and building lead magnets and establishing authority. And then of course, joining groups and masterminds. And it's always, Vinney, for me at least, it's always this expanding thing where it's a very people-based business. And, as long as you're always talking with all kinds of people, you never know where your connection to your next either investor or operating partner will come from. You never know, because people are always talking with each other. And if something comes up, especially if you have a podcast or a following or something, the web is so interwoven, right? So if you know what it is that you want, you can even have a fellow LP who's invested in your market introduce you to another operator, or vice versa. You can have an operator introduce you to an LP. And there's just so many possibilities. You just have to be openly exploring and trying to keep your eyes open to just add value and educate as much as you can. So that's my thoughts. I don't know, Vinney, if that also lines up with your experience too.
Oh yeah, it is definitely. I think it's pretty tough to get people to especially in the starting, right? I had pretty tough time when I had to get $50,000 from my first investor, and he kept on asking, right, how much experience I have, but I didn't have much, but I was genuine, right? I was able to share that this is what I've been coached on, and this is what I'll be purchasing. And, it's going to bring these kind of returns. This is the formula, how we underwrote it, all those things, right? So having a sample packet is really, really terrific. The other thing is being genuine. And nowadays, everything is social. So people don't want to even talk to you unless they have seen your LinkedIn, seen your Facebook, Googled you up, and see what people are talking about you, right? Yeah.
That's right. I was going to ask you, Vinney, how did you do it back when, there wasn't all of these tools out there? Because when you started, like, it was just maybe starting, but a lot of our audience or investors and sponsors and people that we want to talk to, they maybe weren't as much on the social media front. So you had to go, I remember you said knock on doors too, right?
Yeah, knocking on doors and going to RIA meetings locally in the Bay Area, in every town, going there and speaking a little bit, and then collecting cards, and then inviting them for paying the luncheon. I have done
Yeah.
those
Ooh,
presentations, literally
boy.
paid for their lunch at hotels and all. That's how I got started, by the way. In the Foster City, I remember down south of San Jose, in San Jose, in Fremont, on highway, the San Mateo Bridge, all these places, And the good part was I've been speaking in front of audiences all my life. So it was not a big deal for me. But I was able to design this 10 or 15 points, slides presentation,
Uh-huh.
and I will give it with enthusiasm and then have people give us comments and fill out investor questionnaire. And then we'll